Khan. First and foremost, want to give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach Ramalak Yahushai, and the name of the only begotten Son, Hamashiach Ramalak Yahushai. Tonight, through the Spirit, I want to bring out a lesson that's been on my spirit in terms of really examining ourselves and making sure that, Lord willing, you're moving in a humble spirit. It's so easy to get prideful, right? Even in terms of as we go into, a lot of wickedness that's in this earth, like Pride Week and, homosexuality and a lot of these things that exalt themselves against the spirit and the power of the Most High. So you want to make sure through the spirit and you want to ask yourself this question: are you humble? Am I humble? Do I have a humble spirit, right? Am I moving in a spirit of meekness? Am I moving in a spirit of humility? Or am I moving in a spirit of pride and arrogancy? Like, pride will get you killed because pride will have you in a mind frame to think that your ish don't stink, that thinks that you're above reproach, that makes you believe that you're above correction. So tonight we're going to get into some precepts, Lord willing, to encourage you to be humble and to have a humble spirit, right? So that's a question you got to ask yourself: is am I humble or am I prideful? Right? The Most High does not deal with pride, right? The Most High will judge you for being prideful. So I'm going to kick it off with the classic Second Chronicles 7:14, and it's the Most High giving us instructions and wisdom in terms of what things that we should be doing and what type of mindset we should have. You should want to be moving in a mindset that's humble. Now you can be confident, right? You don't have to walk around like, well, I don't think I can do this, and I just wish I had more, more ability. You can do all things through Hamashiach Wamalak Yahushai. You can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth you. So there's a difference in between having confidence and being courageous versus being arrogant, right? And not moving in a humble spirit, especially before the Most High. You got to realize that all of our works before the Most High are as filthy rags, right? Are as filthy rags. All of your works. So no matter what you think, right? Let's get this um, Isaiah 64:6. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 64 and verse 6. And things like this remind you to don't get too ahead of yourself. Don't think that you've done enough in His truth. Don't think that you've done enough righteous works, that there's a ceiling. Don't think that you're ever in a position where you can stand before the Most High and, like, I did enough. Now we know the scriptures say, do all that you can to make your calling and your election sure. And if you do these things, you shall never fail, Salakia. But there's a context to that. That's just basically saying that you should go as hard as you possibly can every day. Whatever you put your mind to, you should be striving to do it in a position of excellence. I don't care if you're cleaning off the table, and you should strive to have the cleanest table that you could possibly have. And we all fall short, but that doesn't mean that you have to continue to fall short. Falling short doesn't mean that you have a mind frame in where you just accept the shortcomings. No, you should be trying to get better, right? And a part of that goes back into a spirit of humility, knowing that you can always be doing better, all right? Isaiah 64:6, but we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousnesses are as filthy rags, and we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. So this is not a defeatist mentality where you're sitting and you're like, well, it says all of my righteousness are unclean. Why should I strive to be righteous? Why should I strive to continue to try to do better if my righteousnesses are just going to be continually looked at in front of the Most High as unrighteous, as filthy rags? But you should have the opposite mentality in knowing that your works, no matter what you do or how much you do them, that you always can be doing more to please the Most High. That's what I get out of this precept. And it humbles us. It's like, dang, no matter what I do, I know that I can be doing more because the Most High, yes, he's going to judge me by my works, but he's also going to judge me by my faith, which if I have the correct faith, it's going to ensure that I'm putting in the work. But even then, I still have more work to do. All right. We're talking about the Most High, man. In order to please the Most High, you got to think how much work and how much effort you have to continuously put in. And that's a humbling thing. Because if you don't, if you're in a mind frame to think that you already made it or you're already doing everything that you're able or capable to do, I mean, that's not the best mind frame to be in, right? Second Chronicles 7:14, and it reads, if my people, which are called by my name, who are, this is context of talking about the children of Israel, shall humble themselves and pray. Now, even in terms of when we go into prayer, right? We know the scriptures say, pray without ceasing. Even before you present yourself before the Most High, you should be moving or presenting yourself in a humble spirit, right? You should be getting your mind right, gathering your thoughts, okay? Don't just come to the Most High before the Most High in his throne and uttering anything. You should be reflecting on what you're about to say. Now, you can pray through the spirit. Sometimes you may just come and you're praying through the spirit of whatever comes to your mind and things of that nature, but you should come in a humble mind frame because the Most High doesn't have to answer you. The Most High doesn't have to hear our prayers. The Most High doesn't have to wake us up in the morning. All praise is Yahweh Shem Shai that he does, but he doesn't have to. All right. The Most High, Yahweh doesn't answer to you. You got to remember that. You answer to the Most High. He can do whatever he wishes, whatever he pleases, whatever is in his will. And he can use you on the right hand. He can use you on the left. So you got to be humble before you even open your mouth to have your spirit pray to the Most High. And a part of that humility will cause you to repent because we know God heareth not sinners. So if you're giving yourself wholly over to a life of sin, or this defeatist mentality that you can't do right or you can't get better, or it's okay for you to just continually to be at the level that you are on, that's a prideful thing to say. Because who are you to say, look, well, hey, this is just what it is. I'm just gonna be like this. I'm gonna be wicked, or I'm gonna be complacent. So you always want to try to continually examine yourself and make sure that you're moving from a place of humility, right? And I have to have self checks all the time. You know what I mean? Big thing that I got into in the last like year and a half is just a slothful spirit of contentment in certain aspects of my life. And when I really reflected upon it, it was a prideful thing because it's kind of like, all right, I'm comfortable with wherever I'm at. And so in that comfort, I'm not being compelled to do all that I should be doing, right? Whether it's in my spirit, whether it's in teaching, whether it's in taking care of my body, right? Whether it's in, making sure that I'm not lazy and I'm reading to my children every night. There shouldn't be a night goes by where I'm not. I mean, there's 24 hours in a day. I make time to do other things, but not make time that every day I should be giving my children a precept, right? And it doesn't always have to be sit down a long drawn out lesson, but the whole fact of the matter is that examining myself, all praises Yahweh Shem Shai, through the spirit of humility and really looking and saying, okay, am I being prideful? Am I doing the things that I should be doing, or am I dropping the ball? And that takes a humble approach. And when you present yourself before the Most High, I want to get this Psalms really quick. I was in this today, the Psalm 17. David is crying out to the Most High, and this is a humbling thing. He says, hear the right, O Lord, attend unto my cry. Give ear unto my prayer that goeth not out of feigned lips. And when you go into that feigned lips, it goes into perverseness. You can't just declare these things before the Most High if you're lying, right? If David is saying these things, he knows from a spirit of humility that he's like, Lord, I'm sincerely attempting to do these things. I'm sincerely calling out to you, Lord, Lord, please hear my cry. He's begging to the Most High. You gotta have a humble spirit in order to beg to the Most High. We always encounter a lot of our people to say, why do I need to fear God? And that's a prideful thing to say. You have to be in a humble spirit when you present yourself before the Most High. And you have to make sure that when you're presenting yourself before the Most High, that you're being honest. Now, you don't come to the Lord all puffed up. Lord, you know, tomorrow better be a better day. Lord, I need this. Like, who the hell are you commanding the Lord around? Humble yourself down. Realize that the Most High doesn't have to do anything for you, right? Verse 2, let my sentence come forth from thy presence. Let thine eyes behold the things that are equal. And the things that are equal means upright, right? Thou hast proved mine heart. Thou hast visited me in the night. Now, why is David saying this? Because he's called out to the Most High before and asked the Most High, Lord, humbly prove me. Search me out, Heavenly Father. Lord, cleanse me of all unrighteousness, because my sins, even my righteousness are before you as a filthy rag. So thou hast tried me and shall find nothing. I am purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. Now, these are a humbling thing because David is showing us how we should be praying in the spirit. We should be praying, asking the Most High these things like, Lord, try me, Lord, so that I can be blameless. If you got eyes to see and ears to hear, Lord, purpose my mouth that I shall not transgress against you. I even had to humble myself and examine myself in terms of like just too much foolish jesting. As a grown man, right, in his truth with wife and children and responsibilities, there's no way that I should be doing too much joking. I mean, what you got to have a balance, but all of these things go back into examining yourself and being able to, Lord willing, humble yourself before the Most High and ask the Most High, look, Lord, examine me. Not based on my own pride and my own mind and being puffed up, but Lord, break me down so that you can build me up in righteousness. So you want to constantly be examining yourself. I want to get back to this precept in the Second Chronicles. Salakia, Second Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. So it's a process in this, right? So first you got to humble yourself before the Most High. All right. And that, takes that takes prayer, that takes fasting, that takes repentance, that takes shedding off your perception of who you were in the world. Once you humble yourself, then you can properly pray to the Most High. When you're praying to the Most High, now you're beginning to seek his face. How are you seeking his face? Because you're becoming and you're asking for the Most High to put you in alignment with his perfect will. You're begging the Most High to cleanse your mind, right? You're begging the Most High to give you a clean conscience. A lot of us go through things where we can't even begin the process of humility because our conscience isn't clean. You still have so much baggage from your thought processes and the ways that you were in the world, right? We all come from a lot of different ways in this world, like, a lot of different backgrounds, but still the similar background we came from is being in a life of sin at the end of the day. And no matter if you were, let's say into certain religions or false doctrines, or, you might have just been a thief or a liar or adulteress or a whoremonger, and you might have been a unjust person. Whatever it was, whatever background you came from, you have to, Lord willing, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, pray for your conscience to be clean, because you can go through certain actions and not have a clean conscience. And what I mean behind that is that you may have the intentions to do right according to the law, statutes, and commandments, but you may have bad thoughts seated in your mind. Strongholds is the word I'm looking for. And because of those strongholds, you never dealt with them through the Spirit. Those strongholds are all various spirits that are still vexing you, and they may be deeply seated in your mind. This is a spiritual war. I want to get this precept that just came to mind, right? When you think about how the The scriptures say that the word is a discerner of thoughts. It's the book of Hebrews chapter 4 and 12. For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit and the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. So we know the heart in this context is going into the mind. So the word of God is so powerful that it literally entails everything that your mind could possibly think about. There's already a solution for it in the word. And that's humbling, that you don't have to have that realization to know you don't have to have all of the answers. The Most High God has provided the answers. Now you got to study to show that self-approved, and you have to seek them out, right? And that's another humbling thing as well. Knowing that, like, look, I have to put in work. There's things that I have to do through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai in order to find the answers, in order to find the solutions to the problems that I'm facing in life. A lot of things most of everything starts in the mind. And you got to think, if your spirit is aligned with the word of the Most High, and as you begin to spend more time with the word, you begin to discover certain jewels that are hidden in the precepts that can help break those strongholds, break those mindset. All right. And all of those things start with the spirit of humility, praying to the Most High, asking the Most High to break you down, man. You got to be broken down in order to be built up. And sometimes we don't want to acknowledge that because the world teaches you that it's a powerful thing to portray that you have everything all together. Hey, well, look, we don't all have everything together. There's a lot of parts of yourself that you're hiding from right now. There's a lot of things that you need to work on, but this spirit of pride is literally choking you from salvation. The spirit of pride is literally stopping you from being the best version of yourself that you can be through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai to serve the Most High. You're no good when your mind is puffed up in arrogancy. That's why the Lord said he hates pride and arrogancy, man. Because when you're in a mind frame of pride, I want to get this real quick. That's Psalms 14:1. Pride would have you doing this. Psalms chapter 14 and verse 1. To the chief musician, a psalm of David. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt and have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. Pride will have you thinking that you have it all figured out and that God, the Most High God, Yahweh, can't do anything for you. And that goes into a lack of faith as well. Pride will have you lacking in faith because your pride will convince you that you can only contribute or you're in control of what you can see, what you can physically touch, those things you perceive that you're in control of. Well, look, the fact of the matter is you're not in control of shit. Salakia for the language. You can't even control your breathing, let alone try to control something else. Right? So, pride will have you moving in the spirit until where you're thinking that it's your works only and it's your actions only that are getting you through the day. You don't know how many demons the Most High God is binding up, right? And that's why it says, I'm going to get this quick precept, what you'll bind on earth, right, you'll loose in heaven. Paraphrasing, it's Matthew 18:18. And it reads, verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. You shall lose, Salakia, on earth shall be loosed in heaven. What Yahweh Shah is teaching right here is you gotta let go. You gotta let go. There's an earthly proverb that literally says, let go and let God. Let go and let God. You gotta let go, man. You gotta be in a mind frame of where you realize, like, it's not about you. It's not about you at all. It's about the Most High, right? It is not about you at all. Salakia, let me share my screen. Salakia. It's not about you at all. It's all about Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So what Yahweh Shai is teaching, he says, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, right? I want to get this real quick. Let's go into this bind. When you think about to binding something, it's to trap it up, right? To tie, to bind, to knit, to put in bounds. So there's things, right? Some of them are sensual things. Some of them are carnal things. Some of them have to do with your identity of who you think you are. You know, a lot of us came into this truth with a certain type of, and I put this in air quote, popularity, right? A certain image in the world that you portrayed of yourself. Well, when you come into this truth, you got to shed those old ways that are not conducive to the new righteous man or the new righteous woman that you're striving to be. And a lot of times, if you're not moving in a humble spirit, you can't let those things go because that's a mindset that you're still trying to hold on to. You still want to be seen as that, you know, that smooth, that whatever it is, whatever attribute that you are portraying in the world. So you got to be able to bind those things up. You got to be able to put them in subjection. I'm going to get this precept real quick. I believe it's in dang, what precept? May Lord willing to come back to mind. But basically going into bringing every thought into the captivity and obedience of Yahweh Shai. That's what in Corinthians. That's what I'm looking for. Salakia. It's the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 5, right? And it reads, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself. When you think about something exalting itself, that's something trying to basically power up over the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And it says, exalted itself against the knowledge of God. What is the knowledge of God? The knowledge of God are the precepts. The knowledge of God are the testimonies. The knowledge of God are everything that would allow you to align yourself with what the Most High God requires of you. So you got to cast down those imaginations. And those imaginations are things that try to exalt. They try to be prideful. They try to boast against the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And you can't serve two masters. You're going to love one and hate the other one, or you're going to draw nigh unto one and push the other one away. So when it goes into those strongholds, right, you have to be able to bind those strongholds through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And once again, it goes back to being what David was calling out in that Psalm 17th chapter, asking the Most High God to examine him, right? To prove him. You know what I'm saying? I want to get this Psalms really quick. Matter of fact, let me finish this up, right? Salaki, a lot of precepts coming to mind through the spirit. So if we go into this word, we saw bind, which is to tie up. So whatever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. And another thing why this is very important, you know, we all have goals and aspirations. It's not a sin to have goals, right? We're living in a world where there's certain things that you may want to accomplish, but you cannot let your goals, right, become one-sided. Okay, Nehemiah, what do you mean by that? Well, there's the word I'm looking for, priority. That's the word I'm looking for, priorities. It's okay to have goals, right? But you have to prioritize those goals, right? So you got, and we even say this in the world, like everybody has heard this in some sense: God first, family, then career. That's priority. That's priority. So if any time when you align with your goals and when you are taking account of the things in which you want to accomplish, when you look at them, Salaki, and you see that they're getting out of that order, you got to humbly examine yourself and you have to put in a regiment to change those up. And that's not always easy. And that's where prayer comes in. You know, you ask the Most High, hey, Lord, and give me the strength, Most High, to do A, B, and C. Lord, show me how I can gain the strength to do A, B, and C. Lord, you know, a prayer that I've been doing as of late is asking the Most High God to guide my mind. Lord, guide my mind to think the right thoughts, right? You got to think about what Yahweh said in the book of Jeremiah. He said, I know the thoughts that I have towards you. You know, thoughts basically to do good, to do you good, thoughts to give you an expected end. And we know that expected end is the kingdom. So it's a humbling thing to go before the Most High and say, Lord, purpose my thoughts to where I think righteousness. Lord, purpose my spirit where I have a spirit of peace. A lot of times it's difficult to really focus in these day-to-day in these day-to-day tasks that we have, because it is so much that literally vexes your mind, right? I want to get this quick precept real quick. In the book Wisdom of Solomon, I believe. Let me see really quick. I think it's either in Wisdom of Solomon or Sirach. I'm gonna get Sirach 36 and 20. I want to get it in the GNT. The book of Sirach, chapter 36 and verse 20. A person with a warped mind causes trouble, but an experienced person knows how to pay it back. So a person with a warped mind, you don't want to be with a warped mind. What will make your mind warped? By adhering to, the impulses of life. What do I mean by impulses? Sensual pleasures. The body in the flesh just wants to feel good. And that may be in a multitude of ways, right? Some people get pleasure out of lying. Some people get pleasure out of drugs, highs, alcohols. Now you can drink, but that's why it says drink in moderation. You don't want to give your mind over to heaviness. And that doesn't always mean sorrow. That heaviness could be impulses and sensual pleasure. Some people are addicted to sex. You know what I mean? There's all different type of things that you can give your strength over to, like the scriptures talk about, give not thy strength over unto women. All of these things go back into being able to be humble and examining yourself. Realize, hey, you gotta know your own self. The scriptures even says, are ye reprobates? Know you not your own selves? You gotta know your own selves, right? And in order to know yourself, you have to be able to examine and line up in truth how you're moving right now and compare it to how you're supposed to be moving according to the blueprint that the Most High God gave us. So back to binding it, right? When you bind these things in earth, they shall be bound in heaven, right? So when you think of the word bound, when you go into this, when you go into this bind, right? You see the G1210. Now watch this. When you go into bound, the G1210, you see it's the exact same word, but it's a different context. If you bind them on earth, they will be bound in heaven. That means that if you bind them and control them right now, those very things that were controlling you on earth, when you get into the kingdom mentality, those same things are going to be bound. They're not going to be able to rule over you. All right. They're not going to be able to be unbound and control you because you already conquered them. So moving through the spirit, you conquer the flesh. And once you conquer the flesh through the spirit, moving through the spirit, again, you don't have to worry about the flesh reconquering you because you've already conquered that, right? So it's showing you that you have to be able to focus first on the carnal things through the spirit and control those things. So therefore, you can continue to move through the spirit. That's what Yahweh Shah is teaching here, right? Shall be bound in heaven. And whatsoever you shall lose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Look, shall lose goes into G3089, to lose, to release, to dissolve in this context. So if you're able to break away certain things that are detrimental to your spiritual man, to the spiritual woman, if you're able to lose those things, when you get into the kingdom, those same things that you lost, you're going to gain those things 10 times more. For an example, right? Like we always talk about this. You may have a passion for, you know, a certain thing in life, and that thing may be holding you back, and you may be like, man, like for instance, I'll give an example. I never thought, truthfully, this is a true story, I never thought that I would be in a position where I wasn't craving marijuana, where I wasn't craving getting high. Never ever did I think that I would, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemi Shah, be able to overcome those things, those vices that I had. But now, through the spirit that I've been able to bind those things, I've loosed so much more. The Most High has opened up so many other doors, right? My mind is free from that addiction. So now, the things that I never thought that I would be able to do, the Most High is allowing certain parts of my life to flourish, because I'm not controlled by that weed demon anymore, by that addiction demon anymore. So these are examples of, and I'm thank the Most High that I'm even able to say that. You follow what I'm saying? Salakia. Let me get 2 Corinthians 3 and 5. Right? I'm gonna get it here though. I'm going to go chapter 3 and verse 5, starting at 5. So 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 5. Not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything of ourselves, but Salaki, our sufficiency is of the Most High. So this is even knowing and realizing, like, look, you got to move through a humble spirit of knowing that whatever you're doing, it's not because of you're doing it on your own might. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, too, I look at a lot of people when they do interviews, right? Specifically, one thing that always kind of surprises me in a way is like when I watch people who play sports. You see certain athletes that they perform at a high level, like for instance, boxing or combat sports. And after a victory, most of them, they don't even thank the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got your twos and fews, but it's one thing that I specifically like watched, and I knew that he was gonna get dog walked by one thing. And this may be something small to think about, but not to me. Like when Errol Spence fought Terrence Crawford, both of these brothers have remarkable athleticism that the Most High has blessed them with. And yeah, Terrence Crawford is stronger in my opinion and things of that nature, right? But it was one thing that happened before the fight ever even happened in the ring that I knew, strongly led to believe beyond a reasonable doubt, that Errol Spence wasn't going to get the victory. And it's because at the press conference before the fight, if you go back and watch this, Errol Spence was very boastful in terms of, yeah, my camp this, my that. Now you can rep your crew, your trainer, and things of that nature, but nowhere did he mention the Most High. That, I got my abilities from God. And Terrence Crawford on the other side, yeah, he talked his talk, but it was more focused on, all praise to the Most High. Now, he didn't say it in these words, all praise to the Most High. He was saying his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We understand the brothers in Christianity from that perspective, but I knew through the spirit, I'm like, hey, he about to get dog walked. Hey, Errol Spence about to get beat up bad because his whole disposition wasn't Salaki from a humble standpoint of acknowledging the Most High. So we got to know that nothing that we do is of ourselves. I don't give a damn what you're doing. You could be a cold painter or artist. Man, it's the Most High who gave you that skill. So in everything, you should humble yourself before the Most High, and he will exalt you in due time. And also, too, you might not be the most skillful in something, right? This world, the Most High gives everybody gifts according to his own measure, right? Let me get this precept really quick, right? Everybody has a gift according to their own measure, all right? Salakia. I think this is man, what is that precept I'm thinking of? not this Luke 6 and 38. It's another precept. I'll get it through the spirit, right? But the whole point is the Most High gives everybody gifts according to their own measure. So you might not be the best at something, right? You might not be the worst at something. You might not have the greatest skill set, but you have the opportunity to still thank the Most High for what you have. A lot of times we look at other people and we're like, okay, such and such has this and such has that. And now you may start to build a sense of covetousness. You may start to covet another brother or another sister for what they have. And then that's how a lot of things, strifes, that's how a lot of jealousy comes in. That's how a lot of self-hate and degradation comes in. You don't want to be moving in that spirit, right? A covetous spirit. You want to be thankful for what you have and what measure of gifts that the Most High has blessed you with. And that's a humbling thing to acknowledge. Like, Lord, I might not be the best in this, but Lord, thank you for what you have granted me, Lord. And Most High will, and it's okay to want to increase in wisdom, increase in knowledge, decrease in skills, to increase in, wealth, to increase in resources, but you have to be doing it in the right spirit. You don't want to become a covetous type of person where you just the allure of gaining increase is what's driving you. All right. You want to be able to be content too in the things that you have, right? And it's a balance to that because you don't want to be content in the sense where you become complacent, right? That's the difference. So you just got to remember that not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of Yahweh Shai, of the Most High, Salakia. Let's get Colossians 3 and 12. It's the book of Colossians 3 and 12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, and long suffering. You want to have a humble mind, right? And when you have a humble mind, you're going to be able to be merciful. Because if you're prideful and if you're arrogant, where does mercy have a seat in a man's mind or in a woman's mind who's puffed up in pride and arrogance? You're not going to even be able to have a spirit of mercy because you're going to think that it's your way or no way. You're not going to be able to be compassionate. You can't be prideful and compassionate. I've never seen it. I've never seen somebody who's super prideful and compassionate, right? So you want to make sure, and once again, I want to finish the statement. You want to make sure you have a balance of confidence, but confidence of knowing that those skills that you've been blessed with are Bashem Mashek Woman Yahweh. That those skills are only because of the blessings, the mercy, the grace, and the favor of the Most High, and that your confidence is in the skills that is in the Most High, not in the skill, if that makes sense. And don't be on a carnal, mind frame. Don't be simple. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, you can't be confident in your ability. You can be confident that you have the abilities, and you can be confident in the fact. Well, let me say it this way. Your confidence should not be solely rooted in the actual skill, but they should be rooted in who gave you the skill, which is the Most High, and who can take the skill away from you. And that's a humbling thing. You got to think of how many people, and I don't want to just make everything about athletics, but that's where I can see some easily simple similitudes. You got to think how many people have literally gotten car accidents or been the top of their sports abilities and got an injury, and now they damn on the bench, right? The Most High can take things from you. You got certain musicians that you may be a great singer, you could lose your voice. And the Most High could give you a reprobate mind where you can be one of the most intelligent, intellectual people, and you get damn early stage dementia. We got to really think about how many ways the Most High can jam you up if you're not humble. So it's okay about having confidence, but have that confidence rooted in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right. So with that, I want to get one more precept real quick before I close up. right? Let me get Deuteronomy 32:8. Now, where I'm going here is that as a nation, we have to be confident as the children of Israel and be thankful to the Most High that when He divided the nations and He divided the sons of Adam, that He did this. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, that means that when you think about an inheritance is normally um, distributed to someone based on their lineage or based on their family. You have to be a part of that family or a part of that will in order to receive the inheritance. So all praises to the Most High when He divided the nations, because we know that there's different nations. If you go by the table of nations, there's 18 nations, or there's a various amount of nations. Like you got the Israelites, you got the Moabites, you got the Hamites, you got the Edomites, you got the Assyrians, you got the what I say, the Ammonites, right? You so forth and so on. You got the Elamites. So you have these various nations, and when the Most High divided all of the nations, He gave each of the nations their own inheritance. All right. Esau, his inheritance was to live by the, my bad. Well, yeah, to live by the sword. Even in terms of when you look at the promise that Ishmael was given, a great nation will Ishmael be. 12 princes, maybe was it? I believe it was 12 princes would be begotten of thee, and so forth and so on, right? You have certain nations that were given certain inheritances, even down to the gods that they serve. The Most High, and it goes here, when He separated the sons of Adam, because we all come from Adam, but the Most High separated the various sons who came from Adam, and He had that chosen lineage. He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. All right. It says, for the Lord's portion is His people. Jacob is the lot of His inheritance. So our lot that we have, right? Because when you think about when people, it's like pulling straws. In ancient times, they would cast the lot. They pull straws, for an example. Whoever had the shortest straw or the longest straw, that's where the lot was cast. I'm going to get this precept real quick in the book of Proverbs that says the lot is cast, but the lot is cast in the lap, but the Lord is over every decision, right? Proverbs 16 and 3. Let me get it in the KJV, right? So it's the book of Proverbs, chapter 16 and verse 3. Salakia. Let me get it in the KJV. Here it is. No, this is not what I'm looking for. Salakia. I thought that was Proverbs 16 and 3. Salakia, bear with me. I want to pull this precept. It's Proverbs 16 and 33 is what I'm looking for. Salakia. All right, here it goes. Proverbs 16 and 33. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. Which means that you can, from a carnal standpoint, you can think it's like rolling some dice. People say it's by chance. Well, we know nothing is by chance. Everything is predestinated, right? According to election. So we got to be thankful. And it's a humbling thing to know that for the Lord's portion is His people. Jacob is the lot of His inheritance. So we got to be thankful that the Most High God chose us. And you got to do something about that, right? You got to pray to the Most High that He gives you the spirit to be the best Israelite that you can be, to be the salt of the earth, right? To be that elect who's striving for perfection and righteousness and faith by Shema Mashiach Wamalak Yahushai. So with that, we give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High God. Hey, let's cut these spirits of pride. Let's cut the spirits of arrogancy. Let's pray for an increased spirit of humility, compassion, a humble mind, meekness, sincerity, and His truth to the 12 tribes that scattered abroad. By Shema Mashiach, woman like Yahushai. Shalom.